I'm 95 years old, and before you scroll away thinking, what could someone that old possibly tell me about my life? Let me say this quietly. Honestly, I've stood exactly where you're standing now, confused, comparing, rushing, wondering if I was already falling behind. If there's one thing I've learned in 95 years, it's this: comparing yourself to anyone else will steal years from your life before you even notice they're gone. When I was young, no one warned me about that. We didn't have social media, but comparison still found us. It always does. We compared salaries, marriages, houses, children, happiness. We just did it across dinner tables instead of screens. And I watched good people, kind, talented people, slowly lose joy because they believed someone else's life was the correct timeline. Let me take you back for a moment. I was 22 when my best friend bought his first home. 22. I still lived in a rented room with a window that rattled when trucks passed by. Every time I visited him, I smiled and congratulated him, then went home feeling like I had already failed at adulthood. I didn't know it then, but that feeling, that quiet shame, wasn't motivation. It was comparison, and it followed me for decades. This channel is called Young V as Old, but the truth is we're not opponents. We're the same people, just standing at different points on the same road. The young ask questions, the old carry answers shaped by regret, mistakes, and time. And today my answer is simple: stop measuring your life with someone else's ruler. At 30, I compared myself to men who seemed more confident, more successful, more certain. I thought confidence was something you either had or didn't. I didn't realize most of them were scared too, just better at hiding it. At 40, I compared my marriage to others. I thought love was supposed to look effortless like the movies. I didn't understand that real love is quiet work done when no one is watching. At 50, I compared my body to my younger self and treated aging like a personal failure instead of a privilege. Every decade, a new comparison, every comparison, a small theft of peace. Here's something no one tells you when you're young. You don't see the full story of anyone else's life, ever. You see highlights, smiles, achievements, carefully chosen moments. But I've sat beside men who looked successful from the outside and listened to them confess in whispers how empty they felt. I've known women who seemed to have it all and cried alone at night, wondering who they were living for. Comparison makes you impatient with your own story. It convinces you that if you're not where someone else is, you're late. But life doesn't run on a single clock. Some people find love at 18, others at 60. Some discover their purpose early. Others stumble into it by accident after failing at everything else first. None of that means anything about your worth. Let me tell you about regret, real regret, not the dramatic kind people post quotes about. My biggest regrets weren't about money or status. They were about moments I missed because I was too busy comparing. I rushed conversations. I overlooked simple joys. I delayed happiness, telling myself I'd earn it once I caught up to someone else. And the cruel joke: there is no finish line where comparison finally stops. When you're young, you think life is about proving something to your parents, your friends, strangers. When you're old, you realize life was asking you to experience it, not impress it. I wasted years trying to look successful instead of feeling fulfilled. I don't want that for you. Mistakes are unavoidable. I made plenty. But comparison turns mistakes into lifelong wounds. You miss a chance, someone else succeeds, and suddenly your mistake feels like proof you're not enough. That's a lie. Mistakes are how you learn what actually matters to you, not to everyone else. Old wisdom isn't loud. It doesn't shout, hustle, or grand, or win. It whispers, pay attention. Pay attention to what drains you. Pay attention to what calms you. Pay attention to who makes you feel like yourself instead of someone you're pretending to be. If you take nothing else from my 95 years, take this: you are not behind. You are not late. You are not failing because your life doesn't look like someone else's. You are living a first draft. Everyone else is too. I've answered many young questions in my life. Most of them sound like this. Am I doing enough? Should I be further along? Why does everyone else seem to know what they're doing? And now, at the end of my road, I can finally answer honestly, no one ever really knows. They just learn to walk with uncertainty. If I could sit across from you right now, I wouldn't lecture you. I'd just ask you to breathe for a second. Then I'd tell you this gently, the life you're comparing yourself to might not even be the life you'd want if you truly lived it. So slow down, let your story unfold at its own pace, and please don't wait until you're 95 to realize you were never supposed to be anyone else. This is only the beginning. When you reach my age, memories don't arrive in order. They come in fragments. A smell, a sound, a quiet moment you didn't know would matter, and many of mine are tied to times I thought I was behind in life, when I believed everyone else was ahead and I was somehow doing it wrong. I remember being 35, sitting in my car after work, gripping the steering wheel a little too tightly. I had just run into an old classmate. He was doing well. At least that's what he told me. New position, new house, confident smile. I congratulated him, got back into my car, and sat there feeling small, not angry at him, angry at myself, wondering why my life didn't look like that yet. What I didn't see then, but see clearly now, is that his path required sacrifices I wasn't willing to make. Long hours, missed dinners, a constant pressure to perform. There is no single right version of success. There are only trade-offs, and comparison hides the cost. One of the great mistakes we make when we're young is believing that confidence comes from certainty. It doesn't. Real confidence comes from self-trust, the quiet belief that even if things don't go as planned, you'll figure it out. That kind of confidence can't be rushed. It's built through mistakes, through being wrong, through trying and failing and trying again. I failed more times than I can count. Careers that didn't work, decisions that seemed smart at the time and foolish in hindsight, relationships I didn't protect well enough. And yet none of those failures ruined my life. What hurt more was believing those failures meant something about my value compared to others. Comparison turns learning into shame. It takes a simple mistake and whispers, "See, you're not as good as them." But learning was never meant to feel like punishment. It was meant to feel like growth, slow, uncomfortable, necessary. Let me tell you something about regret, because I've had a long time to sit with it. The regrets that stay with you aren't usually the big dramatic moments. They're the small, quiet ones. The phone calls you didn't make because you felt too busy chasing something else. The hobbies you abandoned because they didn't look impressive. The joy you postponed because you thought happiness had to be earned later. When I talk to young people, they often ask for advice about money, careers, and success. Those things matter, but not as much as you think. What matters more is how you treat yourself when no one is watching, whether you speak to yourself with patience or constant criticism, whether your inner voice sounds like encouragement or comparison. Old wisdom teaches you this. Life is not a race, it's a rhythm. And when you force yourself to move at someone else's pace, you lose your own. I've seen people win early and burn out by 40. I've seen others struggle for decades and find peace late in life. Neither story is better. They're just different. The mistake is believing one timeline invalidates the other. If you're listening to this and feeling behind, I want you to know you're not alone. Almost everyone feels that way at some point. Even the ones who look confident, even the ones giving advice online. We all compare. The goal isn't to never compare. The goal is to notice when comparison stops you from living. Ask yourself this question, not angrily, not critically, just honestly. Am I chasing this because it matters to me or because I'm afraid of falling behind someone else? That one question could save you years. As I grew older, something strange happened. The need to compare slowly faded, not because I succeeded at everything, but because I ran out of time to waste on it. You don't need to wait that long. You can choose differently now. Your life doesn't need to be impressive. It needs to be honest. It needs moments that feel like yours, conversations you don't rush through, work that doesn't hollow you out, people who see you clearly. No one puts that on a resume, but that's what makes a life worth remembering. If I could rewrite my younger years, I wouldn't change every mistake. I'd change my impatience. I'd stop treating my life like a problem to solve instead of an experience to live. I'd remind myself daily that becoming yourself is not a delay. It's the whole point. So if today feels uncertain, let it be uncertain. If you don't have everything figured out, good, that means you're still open. Certainty can make you rigid. Curiosity keeps you alive. And remember this, the people you compare yourself to are comparing themselves to someone else too. The cycle only ends when you step out of it.